Welcome to One on One. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14. They're all big. We've got one of our favorite guests. We get him in about twice a year. It's the highlight of the year. Delegate Carl Anderton. Welcome, sir.
I'm so glad to be your highlight, brother.
It is. It's fun to have you here.
Yeah. Well, we do what we can. We just want to give the people what they want.
Well, not to insult anyone, but we get politicians on who are very serious. And
Well, clearly I'm anything but that.
They drone on about things,
Yeah.
and you're very, erudite.
Right.
Not that you're not erudite or serious. You can be whatever you need to be, but
Sure.
you approach it with a definite citizen's kind of flavor.
Because that's what it's supposed to be. Some people look at it backwards. I look at it as if you're a public servant, the definition of that is servant. So you're at the bottom.
Right.
And everybody else is over top of you. Sometimes you see it flip the other way around where people think, I don't need to deal with these people because I'm doing this. That's not how it works. You deal with everybody. And,
Right.
We've been doing that since March. Ever since they adjourned session early, which was very weird, by the way. Coming home, jumping right into the unemployment crisis, which we're still dealing with. We've had probably, last time I spoke with Kendall in depth about it, we were over 1,000 cases that have reached out to us, people having, struggling getting unemployment. And so we've got about 24 left that since March still haven't been able to be processed through the site properly. So I will say, for people who say that the unemployment website is up and working well, I could beg to differ a little bit on that. But so that's what been our focus, that and connecting businesses with. I'm going to give a shout out real quick to our friends in Senator Ben Cardin's office and Congressman Andy Harris' office. We've sent businesses there, and they've been able to connect them with answers, whether they've been the answers they want or not. They've gotten answers, but
Right.
To me, that's the whole point of what I've been blessed to do is just connecting dots for people. And I guess if it's unique, that's good, I guess.
Right.
Or bad, it should be more commonplace. I don't know, but
Right.
so how you been, man? Let's talk about this haircut right quick.
Well, I cut my own hair during the COVID thing.
So next time there's a pandemic, we know not to what?
Cut our own hair.
My man. My man.
And this part's been sticking up, and everyone says it'll grow out. Don't worry about it. And I can't get it to go down.
Well, it will grow out, and then there's that. So But.
So take me back. It's you're in the General Assembly.
Yeah.
It's winter time. The pandemic thing is coming.
Mm-hmm.
You guys sort of rushed to get things finished.
Right.
What was that feeling like up there when that happened?
Incomplete. It was a feeling of incomplete. We had passed some things that were really good for us, and then we had some things on the doorstep. Like the final full restoration of how we use the revenues was waiting for one more vote, and we ran out. It got coroned.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things you just kind of felt like, and normally you have that feeling somewhat on sine die, the traditional end of session, but we had 20 days to get one more vote, so we'll just start over again next year but who knows what next year's going to bring. We probably are looking at at least $1 billion shortfall, if not more. Could be less, but so it's going to be a whole new world. The governor vetoed every bill with a fiscal note, and so we'll have to look at those as to which ones will be overridden or sustained. There were a couple that pertain greatly to Wicomico County. The Disparity Grant bill was one. And so
people don't even know about the Disparity Grant. The state gives us so much money because we're considered to be poor.
And we've been passing that bill every 2 years. And so this was a final full restoration fix.
Right.
And
they had to cut it back during the recession.
And so we had to do this to get it back in. And it's one of the things that we ran on was Disparity Grant restoration, highway user revenues, of course, tax differential, nobody wants to talk about right now, and a couple other things, infrastructure related. And so we're going to have to go back and do it again. And I don't know how successful we'll be with this shortfall now, but there is an opportunity to override it. And if it's up for override, I'll vote to override the veto because I'm going to vote for my home before anything else.
Right. Now, would that be hard for you politically to vote against the governor somehow?
No. I mean, what's right is right, and this is legislation that has been historically in place to help counties struggling economically. As long as we're going to struggle economically, we might as well get any benefits that pertain to it. And so, no, I'll vote for Wycomico County against anybody every day of the week. And I can stand firm in that vote. Some people kind of vote on some wonky bills, and then they have to answer for that. But no, if it's bona fide beneficial to Wycomico, I'll stand on that hill all by myself.
I think a lot of people have been kind of curious or leery of his lack of support of the Kerwin Commission stuff. The governor seems to have a kind of a bad attitude about the whole thing. Where were you on the Kerwin thing at the end?
I'm fine with the programs. It's just paying for it,
Right?
And that's going to be an even bigger issue now. Is paying for it. This clearly. I mean, if it was a bad time to raise taxes before, it is definitely a bad time to do that now, as families are struggling to just get back on track to where they were, let alone improving.
Right.
So, if there was a way to do it and not raise taxes, I'd probably be one of the first people to vote for it. But I don't see in good conscience how we can further burden, our friends and family with higher taxes at this time over any issue right now. I think the point is now let's get back on track, financially. Let's make sure that everybody can pay the bills. We've got a big issue coming up, with mortgages and rents.
Right.
Now when the emergency orders lifted, those
Right.
who watch this 20 years from now, there's a pandemic. And
Right.
in that pandemic, the governor had put a moratorium on evictions or foreclosures.
People are going to have to pay those bills.
Right. And so, I just think that we're going to need a year or two to make up and then see where we are.
I'm pretty impressed with how the governor's handled the pandemic. He showed real leadership on this thing, really in the face of a lot of opposition,
Sure.
A lot of attention focused on his decision making. How have you felt about how he's done?
I thought he's done great. And he's been accessible to me. Anytime I've had questions, I've been able to get answers. A lot of the guidance that's been put out, we've called up and asked for it. There's one that's coming out now dealing with wedding venues that we called last week and asked for because they weren't included
Right.
in the phase 2. But, a lot of people are saying, well, there's supposed to have been, 200,000 cases and there's only 60,000. Well, I wonder why.
Right.
Maybe it's because the slowing the curve actually worked.
Preventative measures
Maybe.
helped. Yes.
Maybe it's not a conspiracy.
Right.
The earth is not flat.
Yes, it is.
Is it really?
Seems that way to me.
Oh, I don't know.
If it wasn't, we'd fall off, would we?
I would assume so. And where's that water go? Think about that.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
See,
Is
now
there
I'll
a
spend the
wall
next half
around
hour
there?
just thinking about that. Yeah.
I know, right? I know. Don't get me started on what's the end of the universe look like. I think it's a cinder block wall. I don't know.
In Delmar,
Yeah, Delaware.
across the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
No, but I just think, he's certainly got a lot of criticism here lately about the restaurants openings going slower. But we're getting it back, and I think it's going to be fine.
I do too. I feel bad for the business owners who were struggling, who weren't prepared financially. I mean, who could be at a moment's notice.
Right.
But the one thing I know, and I say this all the time in Annapolis, there's no stronger people than us here. We have the fortitude that we can overcome anything, and whether it be God created or man created, we're going to overcome it and come out stronger on the other end. So I have no doubt that we'll be in a better position a year from now than we are today.
You showed some leadership in the last session on kind of maybe a small issue, but it's a big issue. The alcohol thing in Wycomico County with the
Yeah.
Board of Licensed Commissioners. You were actually able, I think, you won't admit it maybe, but it looked to me like you brokered a deal on this.
Well, I'll tell just between you and me. I'll tell you what happened. So we had submitted a bill on behalf of the mayor, and we didn't do it as a delegation.
And this is
bill.
just for people,
Yes.
the city wanted control of its alcohol permitting
Right.
processes, and a lot of it was based on the National Folk Festival. But actually, the genesis was even before that, but go
Right.
ahead.
75% of alcohol licenses in the county are in city limits.
Right.
So they felt like in order to control their own destiny, they should be able to actually control their own destiny. And so they were having a lot of issues. I sat in meetings with the county board where they were denying things that the mayor explicitly wanted and in the past, and so you knew this was going to come to a head. But yeah, so we submitted a bill in the city's language on behalf of them. It was Cherie and myself, Speaker Pro Tem, Delegate Cherie Sample Hughes, and I put this bill in on behalf of the city because we're the two delegates that represent the city proper. And so we're getting feedback from other members of the delegation. And so I was actually, full disclosure, it was raining. Cherie was getting gas, and I was outside the cigar lounge in the rain talking to her on the phone. And I said, hey, I got an idea. I said, let's take the current board and let's add some members and let's make it three city members, 2 non-city members, but they're all county members. And I think that will give the city the influence it wants, but with everybody being a county resident as a whole, it'll still have a county feel to it. And the county was worried about losing revenues. It's always about revenues.
Right.
So that way,
and the board
they
is a
continue
state
that.
board.
Right.
It's appointed by the governor, but go
Right.
ahead.
Yep. And so we wordsmithed it around, and I brought in one of the main opponents was Chris and Adams.
Chris Adams,
Yep.
who's your delegate,
Yep.
your colleague.
And so we sat down together, and I had him put the amendment in to totally rechange the bill into what we had come up with. And so everybody was on board. We turned it into a county bill at that point. We got the mayor, Jake Day, County Executive Bob Culver to agree on this. And they both sent letters of support, and we got it done. And so it was just, I wanted to keep our streak alive. Every bill that we've passed locally has been unanimous.
Right.
And so, we were trying to find a way, and sometimes, you if you can't kick in the front door, you kick in a window, I guess. But, so it was just, just taking a holistic approach and saying, okay, how can, the county is worried about revenues, the city wants input. How can we put these things together? And so we did a bill that everybody hated, which means it actually worked.
Right, right. Because all these people were completely locked into their stances.
They were
never
dug in deep.
Chris Adams even had like over my dead body kind
Right.
of language and how he felt about it.
Right.
But then everyone came together at
together.
the end, and it
That's
seemed
right.
like it's going to be a good try, or it's the right thing. Either
We
one.
saved his life. He's still alive. He's doing well. He bought a brand new Mustang. It's green, but hey, it's cool. So he's doing well, and so we're all doing well. Wayne Hartman's doing fine. He was opposed to it.
Yeah.
Johnny Maltz was with us. That's my dog.
Johnny, being a bar owner,
Yep.
would be in favor
yeah, of course
that.
he would.
Yeah.
Yep. So we all did well. We got it over across the street to the Senate with Addie and Mary Beth, and they took it and drove it home. And so here we are. And so we'll see how that all plays out. Hopefully it does what's needed. So.
Right after the pandemic, the big issue right now is sort of the racial treatment of people and arrest. As a former mayor, you were the mayor of Del Mar, you actually oversaw a police department, so you have unique experience in something like this. You want to talk about how you feel about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think there has to be a systematic approach. Big words, but basically we just got to learn to love each other. We got to learn to love each other. I mean, it starts on all ends of the situation. I mean, for officers, you don't have to automatically assume that everybody's out to get you and everybody's guilty. If you're being approached by an officer, you don't have to become combative. There's little fuses that are lit to ignite an escalation. And so we have to be mindful and just remember that even though you have on a uniform and I don't, we're still neighbors. We still shop at Food Lion together, So, in the spirit, the mindset that you love your neighbor as you love yourself, I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer. So I don't know how you get there. I don't know how you legislate that. You can't legislate love. You can't legislate compassion. That has to be taught on an individual level. I mean, you have to find your center, your truth, or whatever. And so I don't know how you would go about that. I mean, we were lucky in Del Mar. We had a diverse police force, so that didn't have.
Chief Barkley's an African American,
Right.
Great guy.
Yep, absolutely. And so we were lucky to get to a point where we could put the best people in the position, and regardless of ethnicity or religion or sexual preference or whatever. But it worked out in a fashion that we seem to be doing well. I mean, locally we seem to be doing well. I mean, I haven't heard of many issues with like the sheriff's office. You heard of one recently with the city in Salisbury, and then but a lot of these things just I don't know how you fix it on a national level. I think it has to start at home and spread out from there. And it comes with the acceptance. Finally, I mean, like the sign downtown, for the Confederate. Again, if you're watching this 20 years from now, believe it or not, there was a sign in downtown Salisbury that honored a Confederate soldier.
It was a historical marker, just to mark that he was born here.
Yes, and he was not born here.
And he was not born here,
He
yes.
was born in another county and 20 miles down the road.
Well, he was born in a county that didn't exist yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And he murdered how many? 13,000 soldiers? Union soldiers.
He was in charge of a prison where several people died, yes.
Right. So, I mean, if you're looking to honor somebody who was on a losing team.
Right. It wasn't like he was a hero at Gettysburg. He was kind of an administrative guy. He was not the kind of person you'd want to hang your hat on.
So, but again, it was what, Jim Crow era or whatever.
Right.
By the way, those of you watching this 20 years from now, Jim Crow era was a time, no. But moving that sign away from, downtown Salisbury, where a lot of people of color walk past that every day, and I cannot imagine, none of us can relate, but you try to imagine what it would be like, to be a person of color and to automatically feel like the odds are stacked against you, even if they're not. It's just a perception of it. To walk down Main Street and to have this Confederate, placard in your face every day as you.
Well, even worse, you could argue it's 30 feet from where a man was lynched in 1931.
Exactly, in front of the courthouse.
Exactly.
Where it's supposed to be the halls of justice,
Yeah.
Right. It was just the really bad imagery back in the 80s. I remember seeing the sign there when I was a kid. When my grandfather used to own the city center, I'd kind of mill around downtown, and I remember reading it then and saying, why is this here?
Right.
As a kid, I never understood. I mean, I don't see any statues of Marylanders who were British sympathizers in the Revolutionary War.
Right.
Why do we have, yes, they fought on the wrong side of a war and they were traitors. Good. Put them in the history book or in a museum. We don't need to honor that. I just never understood that. But that's a way of showing your neighborhoods, your neighbors, your family who feel that they're kind of, squashed down a little bit, that, hey, we hear you. Let's get this thing out of the way and let's, there should be a monument there. And it's something that actually I've been having discussions with, is to have a placard there, maybe not in that same spot, but one for Frederick Douglass, who spoke there in 1888.
Right.
That is a historical significance. That's a historical Marylander you should honor. I mean, between Kenny Powers and Frederick Douglass are my spirit animals. I fall somewhere in the middle. Kenny Powers was a fictional character on HBO series Eastbound and Down, by the way. No, but, sorry.
I knew that, but not many people would necessarily.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've come a long way. We still have a long way to go, and again, it starts in your own heart, and recognizing and appreciating and honoring and respecting, those are the basic tenets of how we get past this thing.
Yep, and not to stereotype Republicans, but based on the feedback I get at the paper, the people who have questions or think that maybe moving the sign wasn't a good move, they definitely skew to the right for whatever reason that is. And that's the basis of your constituency. So as a politician, is it really valuable for you to go out and say this, or you're not calculated? This is just how you feel.
It's just me speaking from my heart.
Yeah.
No, I don't really do that political mumbo jumbo stuff. I just, I don't need to form a group to look at a situation. What's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. I mean, if you really feel that strongly about a sign for a Confederate traitor, soldier, whatever, put it in Nanticoke or Wastoco or
down
wherever
where he was born.
from. Yeah, put it there, and let's put a camera and let's see how many people actually go look at it. I guarantee you to be between 1 and 0.
Right.
But if it's really necessary to honor that, then honor it where it belongs. Don't put it in a city 20 miles away in front of a population that is systematically, perceived at least to be treated unfairly to have to look at this. A reminder of a time when they were considered 3/5 of a human.
Right.
You know.
In terms of pandemic, I have to say I'm kind of impressed how the Greater Salisbury Community Chamber of Commerce have really kind of rallied to keep businesses engaged, and I know they've pulled you all in to make sure that you're involved too. How do you see things going forward through this thing?
Hopefully it continues. I mean, it's great. I think there should be business work groups and business roundtables throughout the county, getting ahead and catching up on many issues that go on. I mean, these are things that can work in pandemics, or they could work, in a time of a hurricane or flooding or something that hit a certain area. But I just thought it was great just seeing the community find ways to come together when we were unable to do this. Was just really neat. I felt almost, in a weird way, more connected sitting on my deck than I did, in years past coming home, because there was always a Zoom call or a meeting. Zoom was an app.
20 years from now.
20 years from now, right. So just having the ability to reach out, electronically the way we were able to. I mean, you really had a sense of family still, know, and then you had like the virtual happy hours and all those things, and just people finding ways to connect. It was really neat seeing the effort made and the appreciation of the effort.
Yeah, and you talked about doing constituent service. I would never think, if I was having a problem, to call my delegate. It would never occur to me. Or call my congressman when my Social Security check doesn't come.
Right.
But people do that, and you guys have to step up and have to help these people answer their questions.
I got to give a shout. Kendall is
she's your assistant.
My staffer, my assistant. She's actually the boss.
Right.
But she has been, phenomenal. I mean, she's got strong connections all throughout the governor's office and his leadership, and has been able to get as many answers as possible. Like I said, we still have some people kind of hanging out there that we want to get fixed, but she has truly been a rock star, an all-star, all the stars of this. Because I wouldn't have been able to have been nowhere near the successful results we've had without her.
Right.
Nowhere near.
We dance around this issue all the time in terms of your political future, where you want to go. A lot of talk. People think you should be the county executive. Where are you on this in terms of your development?
It's very humbling. Very humbling. I mean, it actually, sometimes it brings tears to my eyes that people would think that highly of me, when I really think I should probably be, changing oil somewhere, or cutting grass like I used to, or digging graves. I don't really see myself in that light. But I do know that there's a lot of things that we could be doing here, of course. And I love our county executive, Bob. If you're watching this 20 years from now, Bob Culver was the second duly elected county executive in Wicomico County. But but we have different opinions on things. I'm a little more proactive, I think. I'm a little more eager to attract business into our area, and just kind of bring that family atmosphere back to the county, whereas everybody just has a common respect for each other.
And you showed through the alcohol thing that you have a willingness to work with city.
You have to. Yes, you have to.
The city's not an opponent, or it's
no.
You seem to want to embrace it.
Right. I look at Wicomico. I stole this from Mike Lewis. Mike Lewis was the sheriff of Wicomico.
No, 20 years from now, he probably still
He'd
will
probably
be.
still be sheriff.
Yes.
Yeah. But Mike Lewis and I, we were actually at a Ravens game, and we were talking about the different police departments at the time. And I look at the municipalities, which there are 8 municipalities in Salisbury, and the county is a pond, and there are 8 lily pads on the pond, and each of those are equally important. Salisbury has the same power as Sharptown, or Willards, or Delmar, Fruitland, Hebron, Mardella Springs, Pittsville. So you have to look at it that way, and you can't run a successful county fighting the largest municipality. You can't run a successful county fighting the smallest, which is Mardella. You have to find a way to make it work, and that's what we would do. And as I've said all along, whatever my neighbors want me to do. If people are glad with me being where I am, then we will stay here. If they want me out washing cars for a living, then I'm going to be the best car dealer there is. Detailer, not dealer. But if they want me to run for county executive and take that on, then we'll do that. So we'll just see what the future holds, and go from there. But it is for somebody who has a lot of ideas and is a forward thinker. It's really neat, kind of thinking like, what would you do? How would you do it? How would you expand business, improve infrastructure while lowering taxes? It can be done.
Right.
How do you do it? And how do you get there? And so, we have binders actually written up on things that we would attempt to do, just brainstorming ideas. And so we have ideas. We have binders for the job we're in now. We had binders for when I was mayor, binders for when I was on the council in Delmar. It's just what you do. You just write down your goals and your ideas. And, if it's not you, if it's somebody else, you share it with somebody else. The goal was just to get it done. And so we've done that since day one. But it is very humbling. And we'll look at that option when the time is appropriate.
How can people get a hold of you and reach out to you and say, "Where's
Sure.
my check"? How can they get a hold of Carl?
If you're still
Anderton?
looking for your stimulus check, 20 years ago there were stimulus checks presented, but no. 443-359-1335 is this phone right here. Give me a call, shoot me a text. The email address is on the lower third. It's really long, so I don't really, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's Carl Anderton Jr., one word. Maybe we'll do a TikTok. I don't really know what to do with it. It probably won't be here in 20 years. So,
No, that won't be here.
no. But whatever, however, we can help. Just give me a holler. Let me know.
Most important question: will there be a football season this year?
Brother, I hope so. I'll put you this way. I was told that I should probably be able to expect to have my hour Scrapple tailgate going by October. So September might be a little rough.
Well, I'm going to the
It's a slow
Steelers
roll.
game, which I think is the first weekend in October. It's the 5th game, I think, of the season.
Oh, well, I will see you there.
So I'll be there for that if we're allowed to go to a football game.
Well, I'll make sure we're there. How about that? No.
We can just tailgate with social distancing in place.
We will tailgate
Yeah.
with masks, non-social distantly, and we will find a hole in the fence to get in there and be the only two
That's-
people watching it.
Really something to look forward to. That's really exciting.
Yeah, right on.
He's Carl Anderton. He's our state delegate from District 30.
8B.
8B, Delmar guy, former Delmar mayor. We're thrilled that he was here today. Thanks so much for being here, Carl.
Thank you, brother.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. Another edition of One-on-One right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and One-on-One. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.